world who really don't understand. Freedom has many difficulties, but we have never had to put a wall up to keep our people in.
Welcome to the Leo Zagami show with Leo and Christy. How are you, Christy?
Hi everyone, I'm good.
StreamYard has done some changing in the settings, so I would like to have a feedback regarding the audio. If you hear us clearly or if you don't hear us so clearly, please let us know in the comment board. We are broadcasting at the moment live on Palm Springs, California, 4 minutes past the hours on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. Christy, who are the sponsors of today's show?
We have, for the sponsors today, Bruce Kodich and Daniel Estes and Malgorzata Minsa and everybody that bought the book. Thank you very much for the book. He bought mine, he bought his.
Yeah, somebody said to put the volume a little bit higher, and that's what we're going to be doing. Apparently, I guess that StreamYard is just lowering the volume a lot. How is it now? How is it? Can you hear us clearly? Okay, good. Audio, okay.
Thank you, Bruce.
Okay. Okay, if you want to become a sponsor of a show, you can do it anonymously, you can do it publicly, as most of our sponsors like to do, and you can do it through GoFundMe or the Cash App handle. You can also find linked at leozagami.com. I'm going to put the GoFundMe here on the screen in a moment. And today, this is a very special episode because we're going to be explaining you why the Jesuits are so scared of Tom Homan. Yeah, they're scared, guys. They're really scared, especially after Tom Homan has made very clear that he will even arrest the mayor of Denver. The CNN.
I particularly don't like Colorado.
Well, you lived for many years in Colorado.
Yeah, I was born in New York, but I found myself in Colorado a lot. So, and I didn't like it very much.
Why you didn't like Colorado?
There's just so many reasons.
There's a number.
There's just too many reasons to count.
Too many libtards to count, especially. I guess
that's actually not the highest. Now, if I was to go back now, that would be like what would bother me, but it's a lot of other stuff.
Okay, okay. Well, here the GoFundMe, I will put it on top of let me put it here just a second on the screen for those who want to contribute. And then thanks for purchasing the book, Volume 11, and all the other books, including the Zagami Family Cookbook, which is becoming a bestseller. Authentic Italian cooking. Great images, great pics by Christy, but especially great recipes that will transform your kitchen in a 5-star restaurant. I tell you, great stuff. This is a book you need to have, especially these days. It's so overpriced, the restaurants, so many things that are wrong with the food in the restaurants, which is not high quality. Everybody gets sick all the time. Every day we see in the news salmonella here.
Yeah, but that's in the grocery store.
Well, yeah, even in the grocery, so you have to be really careful about what you buy. You have Esterica, what is that? Esterica,
I don't know that thing.
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
that.
In any case, I suggest you choose your food, even in the supermarkets with great, with great precision to avoid getting sick, and cooking at home instead.
I still have carrots, so I'm afraid to
listeria, yes, listeria.
I'm gonna not eat those carrots that are in there. I think I don't want to put them in the curry. I'm worried that one of those carrots are rotten. They're the carrots from Trader Joe's. You know those carrots?
They're from Trader Joe's?
Yeah, those are the ones that they recalled, and then we ate them.
We have
and we were okay, but then there might be a rotten carrot in there. So.
Well, then you have to immediately throw them out now. Go to the kitchen and throw them out. You can't keep them in the fridge.
Right, they've been in there for a month.
Well, then you're not sick.
I know, but maybe there's a rotten one in there.
Okay, that's okay.
They're probably rotten now. It's been a month.
Well, welcome to the Leo Zagami show. We will start, of course, with an event that touched us very closely on the Capitol. There has been a bunch of UFOs on November 26th, just before Thanksgiving. They came and visited the Capitol Hill of Washington, the place where they have been recently discussing the UFOs. Made a whole show about it, about these possible fallen angels and what they call now UAPs. Let me show you what happened in Washington on November 26th. There is no audio, but you can notice the lights on top of Washington. It's a rather incredible display of lights, unidentified objects that started to loom over the Capitol Hill.
Do you think that's fake news?
No, it's absolutely not fake news.
What if they're projecting an AI into the sky and making us think that the UFOs are up there? Then they're going to do a
kinds of things are possible, but this is not the first time that something like this happens in proximity, or if not directly next or above the Capitol Hill. The first time this kind of accident happened was in 1952. So in 1952, there was a bunch of them that went over Washington, and we have the images actually to show you from what happened back in 1952. What are they? Well, I mean, a lot of people are saying all kinds of things about this as a possible new strategy of tension by the New World Order. I repeat, this is not the first time that happens. These are images from 1952 when these UFOs lurked over the Capitol, and to tell you the truth, they were connected to the death of Jack Parsons. At least that's what his girlfriend said. It was a series of accidents that from July 12 to July 29, a series of unidentified flying objects were reported in Washington, D.C. back in those days. Of course, this publicized event ended up as a nothing burger because, as usual, the Air Force said, no, there is nothing to worry about. It was just some kind of effect created by the hot air, the cold air, all kinds of things. So, I mean, this is what happens when you're dealing with a massive cover-up, because that's what is apparently the whole thing, a massive cover-up. But we still don't know. We still don't know. This is what the New York Post titled a rather alarming article, stating that there was a few people that were quite worried by these mysterious lights over Capitol Hill that caused panic in DC. And some said it's already happening. So what is actually happening? I talked about Project Bluebeam as a fake created by this Serge Monas, this journalist, this Canadian journalist. But there is something a little bit disturbing with all this talk of nuclear force being used by Russia, maybe by the US. Who knows? I mean, there has never been a talk about the use of nuclear weapons so intense since the 50s. So who knows? It will definitely be interesting to see the further developments of this situation. Some say mask magic satellites. No, that they usually, I saw them. When they go up. It's kind of different. In the meantime, of course, we are dealing with this transitionary period, this period of transition, no? And you have still Joe Biden, ever so demented, still in the White House. We had a lot of things happening in Aleppo, Syria. Insurgents that are obviously backed by the CIA, but officially they're back from Turkey, have started an attack against Assad and the Syrian army. What does it mean? It means that this is another proxy war between Russia and the United States. Russia, of course, defends Syria, intervened with jets, but the jihadist rebels, which are, by the way, terrorists, Salafi jihadists, in the classical way that I have described in another of my books, which I suggest you get to understand more about what's happening in the Middle East, volume 10 of my Confessions. This is the book to understand the Islamic Freemasonry, that is a subject that has never been really discussed in the West, and the secret societies behind the eternal conflict in the Middle East. This is the advancing jihadists in Aleppo today.
عنك يا بشار رح نحصل على الحرية وحيونا نحيي حيينا نحيي الحرية الحرية.
It's pretty clear what is happening here. We have, of course, the whole Shia establishment, Iran, now in bed not only with Russia but also with China, with the Sino-Russian New World Order. On the other side, with NATO, we have the Salafists, we have basically Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and whatnot. So it is definitely a proxy war. Rather than using an kind of refurbishing ISIS, they have used this new insurgent group of thugs to challenge Assad. Assad, who represents also another important religious ethno-religious group, the Alawites, which I discussed in volume 10 of my confessions, that live primarily following what is a schismatic religious sect of the Shia Islam. So another of the creation of Shia Islam, which I have described in volume 10 as itself a creation of the Islamic Illuminati. So it is a bit complex, but I can assure you that once you read this book, you really understand the whole history of Islam. And
it's not like hard to read or
No,
complicated.
no,
You made it
absolutely.
really understandable.
And it gives you finally a
Clarity,
clarity,
definitely.
including also the Kurds. The Kurds are part of this whole big game in the Middle East. A deadly game. We had this week a ceasefire, which is not really working that well, but Hezbollah and Israel have worked out some kind of ceasefire. Then we have him, Zelensky.
Oh no.
Ever so desperate these days, he knows that, he knows his days are counted. He knows his days are counted. He knows that once Trump is back in the White House, he will have to find himself a new job or go back to his old job as a comedian. And as desperate as he is now, his proposal is, just give us membership of NATO, my little part of Ukraine that I retain, you can have the rest. Kind of really desperate. Here he is, Volodymyr Zelensky.
Alternative, perhaps. Again, this is reported from the United States. And it's fairly simple, really, is that Ukraine joins NATO, but Russia takes control and keeps the land that it has to date. Would that be a possibility?
Ніхто не пропонував нам бути в НАТО.
No one has offered us to be in NATO with just one part or another part of Ukraine.
Щоб закінчити гарячу стадію.
That's for once.
Факт.
The fact is that it is a solution to stop the hot stage of the war, because we can just give the NATO membership to the part of Ukraine that is under our control.
Факт. Можна було б, ніхто не пропонував.
Yes, it could be possible, but no one offered.
Треба робити.
But the invitation must be given to Ukraine within its internationally recognized border.
Ви не можете давати тільки частині.
You can't give invitation to just one part of a country. Why? Because thus you would recognize that Ukraine is only that territory of Ukraine and the other one is Russia.
Тому я і сказав, юридично ми не маємо права.
So legally, by law, we have no right to recognize the occupied territory as territory of Russia.
І тут не можна помилятись в цьому.
And here we must not make any mistake.
Зупинити гарячу стадію війни.
But if we want to stop the hot stage of the war,
зонтик, амбрелу.
we should take under NATO umbrella the territory of Ukraine that we have under our control.
Швидко. А далі
That's what we need to do fast. And then Ukraine can get back the other part of its territory diplomatically.
Ось що я сказав, що таку пропозицію
So, and this proposal has never been considered by Ukraine because no one has ever offered that to us officially.
не запропонував. Юридично
We can't, by law, recognize our territory, Ukrainian territory, under occupation of Russia as Russian. That is impossible. That is against the constitution of Ukraine.
Конституцію України.
I understand completely your position. It is interesting, though, because it seems to me you have moved to a point that if you could get your NATO membership, you would have accept that we could be moving into a ceasefire and potential talks, peace talks, and at some point in the future, you would consider diplomatically how to get your land back. That's quite a big step, because you're never going to accept that it's Russia's, but as you say, physically, they will hold it. But it could bring the war to a close.
A lot of different countries proposed a ceasefire. So the question is, ceasefire where? That is a question. The second point is if we speak ceasefire, guarantees that Putin will not come back. And in this case, I commented you about NATO. Yes, NATO immediately the part of Ukraine. And we need it very much. Otherwise, he will come back. Otherwise, how we can go to ceasefire?
It's quite incredible because he's asking basically for NATO membership was the reason that started this war in the first place. But I mean, what is happening here is also that Russia's intelligence seem to know something that we don't know, or at least the majority of people don't know. And what is that? Well, apparently, a leaked document by the Russian intelligence discusses the fact that there is a plan, a secret plan by NATO to divide in some way the whole of Ukraine. So the north of Ukraine and Kiev will go to Great Britain. This at least, yes. Then instead, and then another part of Ukraine will go to Poland for a period of time, let's say the initial phase, the interim phase, and then there will be another part maybe going to Germany. Now people will think, how is possible all this? Well, this is the interesting part, that the Russian intelligence seem to think that NATO peacekeeping forces might go into Ukraine before the 21st of December, so they could then place themselves and then work out a deal with Russia. So Zelensky seems to know that, he is left with very little time. But let me show you this article, which apparently gives us this information, and it seems to be coming from the foreign service, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, which is known as SVR. The NATO Russian proxy war in Ukraine might be on the brink of an unprecedented escalation, it says in this article. NATO might be willing to test Putin's patience, but at the same time, it says that the SVR revealed that Poland will have control over Western Ukraine. Let me show you so you can have a look at this very interesting take by the Andrei Korybko newsletter. It says Russia Foreign Intelligence Service warned about 100,000 strong NATO intervention in Ukraine. And here, as I told you, SVR revealed that Poland will have control of Western Ukraine like it did during the interwar period. Romania will be responsible for the Black Sea coast, which is seized during World War II, and ruled as the Transnistria Governorate. By the way, there is actually Transnistria at the moment, which is under the control of Russia and has been like this since the fall of the Soviet Union. Then we have the UK with that will lord over Kiev and the north. The UK has been extremely involved in this war. I always told you that. And so they will be given Kiev. It's like a little bit like Germany at the end of the Second World War, when Eastern Germany was given to Russia and Western Germany was divided in various zones. Berlin, various zones, the English zone, the American zone. There was different.
What about Russia?
Now, Russia will keep, of course, their own areas, Donbass, Crimea, and everything that even Zelensky is somehow confirming he will have in this interview that we just saw. He says that Germany will deploy its forces to the center and east of the country. So even Germany will have a role. Now, we don't know what France it will be good, because I'm sure France wants something, as they have been also very much involved, and this will lead, they say, to the reconstruction of Ukraine. So Ukraine is not going to be simply now a peace now comes and then Ukraine reconstructs itself. No, Ukraine will be this. I mean, this is what the Russians are stating, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, are stating that NATO peacekeeping forces will go at that point into Ukraine, divide the various sections, like we just said, and then they will gradually give it back to the Ukrainians. The problem here is that NATO is already there with training centers in Ukraine. We know that, for example, the second guy who attempted to assassinate Donald J. Trump went through these training centers and he actively worked for them. I also explained how the cognitive warfare of NATO is involved in this whole. It's not only a war of geopolitical and traditional weapons, it's also a war of the minds. It's a war of convincing the majority of people, like unfortunately we saw in the last few years that Zelensky was this hero. Then we will have the Ukrainian nationalists, the Nazis, now that often we refer to with their Nazi symbols. They will work in this situation. They will have police functions. So these 100,000 people, though, what kind of function will they have, really? These 100,000, troops, peacekeepers that they say, the Russians say, will pour into Ukraine. It's a little bit weird. We don't really understand this 100,000, how they will be allocated. But in the meantime, Biden is escalating in his mind, on the mindset of the people behind him, because I think that Joe Biden doesn't even know what he's eating for breakfast or for dinner or lunch. He doesn't have a clue of anything. The guy is just an old senile idiot that has less than 50 days at the White House. But he is escalating to de-escalate because he thinks he can get better terms for the US. Russia, in the meantime, though, has updated the nuclear doctrine. They have showed the power of the Eurasianic hypersonic missile. And Putin has visited Astana, defined also as the capital of the Eastern Illuminati, Astana, in which he has also clearly launched some message to the West, once again stating that if there is of course other long-range missiles, he will react accordingly. But also he discussed Donald J. Trump with in a way what has astonished me more was Putin on the Trump family threats.
Probably just like me, you are amazed not by the fact that absolutely uncivilized means had been used against Trump, all the way up to assassination attempts, numerous assassination attempts. And I think he's not safe even now. The history of the United States has known many cases, but I think President Trump is a smart person and a cautious one, I hope. But what amazed me most, that in fighting him, not only Trump was subjected to humiliating court procedures, accusations and so on, but his family was attacked as well, his children was attacked. Gangsters don't do this in Russia. When criminal gangs fight, they don't touch children and women. It's men who fight among themselves. But those guys stooped as low as that. I think this is so... This looks so bad that it only reconfirms how low the political system of the United States has fallen.
And then he finishes basically his closing speech in Astana. In Astana, he has arrived, of course, with for a second state visit. Astana, that I have discussed in my books. I have also discussed the importance of Astana in relation to the one world religion, but also the fact that if Kirill, the Orthodox Patriarch of Moscow, didn't meet with Pope Francis, this one world religion will never come together. Astana is a place that has changed also name. It was called Nur Sultan, then Astana, then Nur Sultan, I mean, then has also had other names. The thing regarding the visit of Putin in Astana is that he went to meet within the Collective Security Treaty Organization, which was established by 6 post-Soviet states, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, and Tajikistan, in 2002. And this Collective Security Treaty originated, of course, let's say, in the legacy of what used to be the Soviet armed forces. And today there is a strong partnership and a very strong collaboration between these countries. So you can also find the Collective Security Treaty Organization website for those who are interested in knowing more about it. There is actually a website that tells you what they stand for, and of course the images of the last meeting in which you can see Belarus head on the left, then you have the other leaders of the countries I just mentioned, and in the center, of course, we have Vladimir Putin. And this is a collaboration that extends even further than NATO, with a collaboration between their foreign ministers, between the whole structure has a council of foreign ministers, minister of defense, and so really unifies these countries very much. Now, we have been talking about Astana because you have this pyramid, this palace of peace and reconciliation right at the center of it. And the fact that Putin has arrived there has signified really a lot, because for the second time in this more formal state visit, they have also launched messages, important messages to the West and where they stand. At the moment, there is, of course, this big conflict between the Western countries and Russia. Now, I would like to move further, into the topic of today regarding Tom Homan. Tom Homan is a guy I met a few years back. He asked my friendship on Facebook, and he's a wonderful guy who has established this Border 9/11 project, and now he has been nominated as Border Czar. He worked for a brief time also as a representative of ICE during the first Trump administration. I was actually quite honored and shocked when he first asked my friendship. I thought maybe it was one of those fake profiles.
I have a bunch of those.
But instead, it was a real one, and it seems to actually admire my work, which is mutual respect, of course, and mutual respect because we stand for the same values. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, he stands for mass deportation, dividing the families, this and that, and all the other. Guys, 11, maybe more million people during the Trump administration has come illegal in this country, while I had to wait years and years on end to finally get the naturalization, and to see in the meantime all these people coming into America illegally and being granted all kinds of benefits. Well, I mean, it wasn't really something that I took very lightly. And Christy, I remember, she always used to, see me so annoyed by all this. In any case, who are the real enemies that are permitting this? Now, in August 2024, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops issued a rare statement rejecting what they say were false claims regarding Catholic profit organization being complicit in human trafficking, smuggling, harboring, and child exploitation through the southern border mainly. Earlier this year, America, which is the monthly Catholic magazine published by the Jesuits, is very left-leaning, very progressive, headquartered in Midtown Manhattan, claimed that the Catholic agencies have found themselves caught in GOP crosshairs because of immigration. So that was their justification. And this was the statement that the Catholic bishops did. And that's, I mean, when I wrote in the title of this show that Tom Homan is now the #1 enemy of the Jesuits in the world, I'm not joking, guys, because these people, these Catholic organizations that are defending themselves with all kinds of excuses, are the ones that, thanks to our money, also our taxpayers' money, and thanks to the United Nations, have managed to open centers and all kinds of things that are facilitating this invasion. So let's see, first of all, Tom Homan talking just yesterday on the Hannity show with former Trump advisor Kellyanne Conway. Let's not forget that it was under Joe Biden that in May of 2023 we also had the actual law that was in some way helping the situation. I'm not saying it was the solution of all our problems, but Title 42 prevented an even worse case scenario. And this law was passed in March 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, by President Trump at the time, that invoked this new rule as a public health emergency measure. And it was kept in place. And like I said, it might have prevented an even worse case scenario. But still, millions of people have managed to pour into this country. And once on May 11, 2023, the Biden-Harris administration took away this law, this Title 42, then all those migrants that were here in America had finally the possibility of going through, of having their cases heard in immigration courts. So it definitely made a difference, but then also when Joe Biden interrupted it, it was like the law was never there in the first place. Joe Biden has done everything possible and imaginable to push these people in this country. And of course, this is an invasion aided by a Jesuit agent who is also the second Catholic president the United States ever had, Joe Biden. Let me show to you Tom Homan on this brief clip from his appearance on Hannity.
Now with more is the incoming Trump border czar himself, Tom Homan. Tom, welcome to the show. Would you please comment on the specific granular plan that Sarah Carter has reported on, how in fact you're going to use trains, planes, and automobiles to repatriate these illegal migrants back to their home countries?
Well, as Sarah said, look, me and Governor Abbott, we're not waiting until January 20th. I've been on to Texas. We're already meeting. We're planning how we can work together to help Texas, secure their border at the highest level ever. He's done a great job. Illegal immigration in Texas is down 86% because he put in place a lot of Trump's policies, right? He's building border barriers like President Trump did. He's adding consequences to those who cross the border illegally. He's arresting them for trespass. And people need to understand DPS has done a lot. Not only is Governor Abbott's action protecting Texas, they're protecting the United States because most of these illegal aliens aren't staying in Texas. They're moving out of the country. Every ounce of fentanyl his trooper sees is less overdose deaths. Every person they arrest for trespass is one less getaway. So they get fingerprinted, they get vetted. At least we know they're not terrorists. But we're going to follow that model across the southwest border. But my plan is, and I've been very vocal about this, we're going to contract as much work out as we can. Work that doesn't require a badge and a gun, because I need badges and guns on the street to do the deportation operation. So when it comes to driving bus transportation, whether it's ground or air, whether it's processing, whether it's some other administrative duties, contract that work out. Because right now we got badges and guns doing that work. Get them out of that administrative work, put more on the street, and that's what we're going to do. And if these sanctuary states and cities keep pushing back, I'll have the extra resources to double manpower in those sanctuary cities. Because if we can't arrest a bad guy in the jail with one agent, it means I got to send a whole team out in the field to find this person. And for officer safety reasons, we need a whole team rather than just one person. So this is the plan we're putting together, and Governor Abbott's come to the table. He's the first one to come to the table, and I accepted it and shook his hand and said, let's go, let's move forward, let's do it.
Tom, I know that you often talk passionately about the humanitarian crisis that is our border crisis. You have some of these Democrats don't seem to care, and when babies are drowning in the Rio Grande, don't say a word about it, including our borders are Kamala Harris most days. We don't hear them talk about the 10-year-old boy being abandoned by the smugglers, the 2-year-old girl left by herself, 2 years old, Tom Homan. And yet I feel like they're waiting for their photo op, and they will resist the efforts that you and President Trump are trying to put forward and make sure that they're showing the big bad evil guys are separating families and people are crying, they're being deported. Bring us forward a little bit. What will this look like? Will it be orderly? Will it be humane? How are you guaranteeing that? Because you're already getting so much resistance from the same mayors and local officials who know this has been draining their resources, know how angry their residents are about illegals coming there getting cash and debit cards and cell phones and clothing and hotel rooms in a place here like New York City, let alone a New York City school child's desk in a classroom. Tom, how will you do it in a way that people know you adhere to the law, this is enforcing the law, it is humane, it is fair, and it is just and legal?
Well, look, open borders are not humane. The only thing on that border right now that is humane are the men and women wearing that green uniform. They save thousands of lives every year. I've seen these men and women give CPR to babies that were thrown into the river by the cartel, because when they're chasing the boat of a smuggling load, so what the cartel members do, throw the baby in the water, then the Border Patrol have to jump in the water and save that baby rather than arresting the smuggler. Look, I've held dying children, I've held dead children. I've talked to little girls as young as 9 that were raped multiple times by criminal cartels. The border, open borders, cause death. They cause a rise in sexual assault of females and children. Under this administration, open border, sex trafficking is up over 600%. The number of people off the terrorist watch list is at a historic high. The amount of fentanyl coming across the open border have killed over 250,000 Americans. And that's just what open borders does. When President Trump had the most secure border of my lifetime, illegal immigration down 90%. When 90% less people were coming, how many babies weren't dying? How many women weren't being sexually assaulted? How many no-inspected terrorists didn't make in the country?
I mean, he's saying all the right things because he's a guy who really cares. I mean, when you see a 10-year-old that is crossing on his own the border, of course, they're all programmed to say that they have their parents in America. Probably that is a lie. This is a 10-year-old abandoned by smugglers, found crying and alone at the U.S. border.
Buenos días, mijo. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Ah? ¿Qué pasó, mijo? ¿Qué traes? ¿Te dejaron solo? ¿Qué? ¿Viniste solo? ¿Qué tantos años tienes, mijo? 10 años. ¿Y vienes solo? ¿Sí?
10 years old, 10 años. Are you alone? And he is alone.
¿Mamá?
No, mi mamá no va a estar en Estados Unidos.
¿Estás en los Estados Unidos? ¿Qué parte de México vienes?
No, de El Salvador.
¿El Salvador?
And he comes from El Salvador. And this is just one of the many examples. I mean, people, of course, in the next few months, they will view this mass deportation and they will see it as time as brutal. But there is nothing brutal here because it's more brutal what is really happening every day with these kids that are dying here 2 hours from where I'm talking, 1 hour and a half in the desert with these cartels that are unscrupulously doing this job of carrying them through the border, at times just leaving them when they are maybe feeling sick and or stuff, and then of course they die. It's really a barbarian way that is permitted by people like Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, he's the face of the left, he's the face of fakeness, and he's also, of course, present on Thanksgiving with his wife, giving us more of this fakeness.
Gratitude. It's about appreciating what you have and who you're with.
And for Jen and I, that's our kids and our extended family and friends. But we're also grateful, well, for all of you, California, for all that this state is and for all that it stands for.
This state has long been known as the land of opportunity.
And we still are, but today we're also, well, we've grown a little bit. We've learned from our past, and we're proudly support all of those.
Yes,
all of those.
then you're gonna basically increase 47 cents from January the gasoline, because he wants to fight climate change, and so he wants to make life harder for the common folk who is using still, of course, non-electric vehicles. This is insane. This guy is a joke and he's a criminal, but he's also the product of this Jesuit reality, because you have to understand that the treacherous policies of the Biden Jesuit administration, at least for the last 4 years, have given our own taxpayer funds to the United Nations to establish migration centers across Central and South America, facilitating thousands of illegal aliens with potential resettlement options into the US. And this is according to an official report. Since 2021, the Biden-Harris administration has overseen the release of nearly 5.8 million illegal immigrants into the US. And these are the official, of course, because you have another 5 million that are, or maybe even 10 million that are unofficial, with an additional 1.9 million entering as gotaways, who evaded apprehension entirely, but maybe, like I said, many more. The GOP has argued that these numbers illustrate an administration that is clearly not bent on dismantling, is bent on actually promoting and dismantling border security rather than putting it in effect like Tom Homan wants to do. Fixing this problem in this Jesuit-controlled administration is probably going to take a while. But Joe Biden, Obama, Soros, who is behind the scenes, have created this Safe Mobility Initiative, a program designed to avoid the optics of border crossings by coordinating with UN agents. And I always said the United Nations is, of course, the ultimate institution of this new world order, in 13 Central and South American cities, notoriously controlled by the Company of Jesus, the Jesuits. And through their NGOs, they managed to do all this. But the interesting thing is that, of course, Tom Homan has said that they're going to also dig deeper. They're going to investigate the United Nations. They're going to investigate the Biden administration that enabled it. And they're going to investigate those NGOs involved, including the Catholic NGOs that are cooperating actively in providing aid to these illegal immigrants, because they have their own interest in the picture. If they get a bunch of Catholics to invade from Central and South America, the United States, America will never be the same again. America was a country born in 1776 to reject the kingdoms of Europe and the Vatican and everything they represented. So to have all these Catholic organizations working to sabotage the work of the border, of the US Customs, of Homeland Security, This is what they are doing. But let's continue to hear Tom Homan.
No, didn't get in the country, kill Americans. Secure border saves lives. But it's and that's where the humanitarian piece comes into place. Under Joe Biden, historic number of aliens have died crossing that border, 4,000. 250,000 Americans have died. The open border policies are killing aliens at record numbers, killing Americans at record numbers, and we're going to put a stop to it. We're going to secure the border. As far as sanctuary cities, I find it hard to believe that any mayor or governor wants to push back on ICE because the president's been very clear. Right out of the gate, we're going to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. What elected official wants to tell his constituency, I'm okay with public safety threats in my community. I don't want ISIS help to remove these public safety threats. That's their number one responsibility, is the safety and security of the public of their communities. If they don't want to do it, ISIS is going to do it. And with all the death threats and all the negative press for now, they can keep screaming all they want. ISIS is going to do this job. I'm going to do this job. We're going to make these communities safer, and we're going to enforce the law. And if they don't want to help, instead decide don't help, fine, don't help. But don't get in our way. And I've said this for the past week over and over again. Do not harbor and conceal an illegal alien, knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from us because it's a crime. Don't impede us because it's a crime. Don't obstruct because it's a crime. If you want to sit aside and let us do your job of securing the communities, fine, we'll do that. But don't cross that line.
Tom Homan, you were a great colleague of mine and ours in the first Trump term, and you were one of the first appointees that he named because he takes very seriously the need to do everything that you're describing. And Tom, when I interviewed you for my Here's the Deal show on Fox Nation, you made very clear that Biden and Harris really were the first administration in a long time who didn't make moves to secure the border. In just the remaining seconds we have, can you tell the audience why that would be? What commander-in-chief, what president and vice president would take steps that don't secure a border? Why?
He was the first president in history of the nation who came in and unsecured a border on purpose, not because of mismanagement, not because of incompetence, by design. They want this open border. They obviously think these millions of people will be future Democratic voters, but also he overturned the Trump census rule, with millions of people in sanctuary cities recounted the next census. And what does that mean? More seats in House for the Dems. But I tell you what, the Trump team coming to town, we're going to take control January 20th, and people are going to be held accountable. We're going to be very transparent. We're going to get behind. What did the United Nations have to do with this open border crisis? Who in the administration, the Biden administration, opened the doors on this humanitarian crisis? What NGOs were involved in this? We're going to be very transparent to American people, and we're going to tell them the truth, what happened on this border. Again, by design, and we're going to let the American people know who was involved, why, and hold them accountable.
Tom Homan, thank you so much for joining us. The incoming borders are for President-elect Trump.
Thank you, Tom, and we hope and wish you that you will do a great job for the American people, for all of us. Remember, we are facing uncertain times. We are definitely in front of a great moment in American history. Will they let it happen? I mean, of course, Trump is going to dismantle the deep state. Is just appointed a nominee for the FBI, which can be controversial. He has many controversial nominees that will probably overturn the whole system. Trump has just nominated an hour ago Kash Patel to serve as FBI director. Now, Kash Patel has a great experience with the national intelligence, with other institutions. He's a writer, he's very prepared, and Kash Patel intends to completely reform the FBI, and of course he will fire FBI Director Christopher Wray immediately, because he's been one of those appointments which didn't really work out very well. So the fact that we have now Kash Patel gives us hope. We have Pat Bondi at the DOJ. We have RFK Jr. to wage war against the big pharma. These are big changes, guys. These are big changes. They might try to stop all this by triggering a third world war. They might even attempt to install Kamala and suspend the inauguration of Donald J. Trump. But at that point, it's inevitable.
The whole country will go rogue if that happens.
So I don't think they want that. I think that we instead have a choice to reform America in many ways. And I'm looking forward to it. They're actually building a statue for Donald J. Trump dedicated to what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. A statue, yes, a statue. We have some images that I can show you. Is the fight statue of Donald J. Trump. We have here an image I might be able to show you. And I think this is great. Then we have, of course, people in the last few days were surprised. We have Mark Zuckerberg visiting Mar-a-Lago. Then we had even that weasel of Justin Trudeau, the illegitimate son of Fidel Castro, who had to bow down to Donald J. Trump. This is the statue. They're working. They're constructing the statue. Fight. This is, of course, our motto. Fight. In the meantime, well, Kamala, she is left doing salads. I mean, she actually pretends to help the poor. You know, she goes where they're serving the food for the poor on Thanksgiving. And what she does, well, she actually shows up with a Tiffany necklace worth $65,000. I mean, this is disrespectful toward poor people. What is she doing with all this green?
Oh, you did?
After a lot of word salad, Kamala knows her new job is to deal with salad. Golden Tiffany necklace cost $65,000. You can't get a good necklace that looks like a turkey necklace, so looking better with that.
Assistant kitchen director, so he's going to tell you what we're doing. They're going to tell you what we're doing today.
We've got lots of volunteers. Let me introduce them. We have Miss Jones over here. We have Miss Linda. Miss Karen. They
didn't want her at McDonald's, so she is instead working.
What are they doing? It doesn't even look good.
What is she doing?
What are they doing?
She's involved in greenery. Is this a vegan kind of Thanksgiving?
Turkey. I made my cranberry sauce already. I'm doing scalloped potatoes and string beans and Brussels sprouts and a salad just to have something fresh. I can take the cornbread with my cornbread.
After spending more than $1.5 billion on a failed campaign, she's still in debt. Maybe that's her job now. She has to work in a line here doing cleaning up vegetables with her.
You can pawn her necklace and give back some of the donations.
Yeah, really. That's it. Why don't you sell that $65,000 and give it back to the donors, dear? Come on, Kamala, give back the money to your donors. What a rip-off merchant. Thank you so much. Our sponsors, Christy, who are our sponsors today?
Bruce Kodish and Daniel Estes and Malgrizada Minta. And everybody that bought the book.
And everybody that bought the book, remember, you can support us with the purchase of these books or with our donations that can be sent to GoFundMe or either to our Cash App handle. Thank you so much for being with us.
I wanted to say that we had a very nice Thanksgiving.
Yes, very nice.
And it went very well, and we made all the classic things that you have for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I should have shown the
pics. Where's your picture? You don't have it.
I know, I should have showed them. I mean, I should move them from here to there. It would probably take us...
It's kind of not becoming relevant anymore. So.
Okay, the turkey's finished.
we're gonna have curry tomorrow and then
Okay.
it's finished.
That-
but
that-
all of the side dishes are gone now. We
okay.
finished them today. No pizza.
No pizza.
No cooking either, though. I loved it.
Yes.
Just
yes.
for a break, I really like that on a Saturday, not to have to cook.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Chrissy, for the wonderful turkey and all the side dishes that you made. You made the great cranberry sauce, very fresh, very nice. I'm sure it was better than whatever Kamala was talking about. And then you made the green beans casserole.
That's just, the typical.
And then the pumpkin.
He thinks it's very exotic because he's not eaten this very often or his whole life. So he thinks like the sweet potato thing is really exotic. And so do the Italians. When I made it in Italy for Thanksgiving, I did 2 Thanksgivings in Italy, and we had all our friends and family over. And the fagioli, the green bean casserole, it was like they wanted to know everything about the green bean casserole.
But somebody's saying, are we making curry in honor of Kamala? Yes, we are making it in honor of Kamala and in honor of her turkey neck.
Oh, Amari, why do you have to say that? It's
You can't, I
horrible.
mean,
Shut up.
you can put,
Anyway, so
you can't really, you place a $65,000 Tiffany necklace on a turkey neck. Whatever, it doesn't work. Well, she was mean with all the Americans because we had to listen to her rubbish pushed by all the mainstream
you have to
media.
have good thoughts or they come ugly on your face. So
Okay.
think
Let's have
beautiful
good
thoughts or you're going to be ugly.
Okay, beautiful thoughts, beautiful thoughts. Hope you enjoyed this Thanksgiving, and now we will prepare, of course, for our next show, R3. It's getting there, guys. It's getting there.
That's our little mini tree, our
There's
little,
a Christmas
little
trolls in the
tabletop
back.
tree. But the lights broke, so I have
Yes.
to get new lights.
So now we have to get new lights, but don't worry, guys. Next week we will be with our Christmas tree once again.
And then I got to hear all the comments about it. Oh, they're celebrating Christmas. Well, we like it. So.
Well, we like it. Yes, we like Christmas. Is something wrong about that?
We're not working for some weird conspiracy situation.
In that time,
whatever.
our world has taken so.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, bye, everyone. The music of Vincenzo Viceversa, the author of our wonderful covers, book covers, and the images of Albert Telepandemia. Have a great weekend, my friends. Enjoy! And keep on supporting the Leo Zagami Show with Leo and Christy.
Social organization, humanization, in the negative utopia to science, technology, social organization. Technology, social organization, dehumanization. ideology, social organization,